here at First Baptist Church of Asheville. It is wonderful to see all of you here in the sanctuary. It's exciting for us to offer this again to our community. We did this many years in a row until the pandemic hit, and we were able to thankfully put it together for this year. So I want to say ahead of time, thanks to everyone who's helped make this possible. I want to start with Kevin Kerber, who shared coffee with me many months ago and helped me start dreaming about what this might look like. And the script that you'll hear tonight largely was written by Kevin in preparation for tonight. So thank you. And to Kevin's wife, Sarah, who's helped a lot bring this all together. I want to thank Jessica West, who is our narrator. About 7 or 8 years ago, there was a folk Advent service in here because it was the norm. And I can still remember Jessica narrating a story, and it still rings out in my mind the way she presented that story and brought it to life. So I'm so glad you're here, and she'll keep everything moving this evening. And I want to thank Karen Sorrells, there you are, for helping bring so much of the dulcimer ensemble and the recorder ensemble with her husband Clark. Thank you for sharing your gifts with us tonight. We are excited. We're all in store for some good music, some good stories. You get the chance to sing along some. It is a folk Advent service. So let me just say that there's one thing that means is you got to loosen up a little bit, okay? Because mountain people, you don't be too uncomfortable. So glad you're here. Let's give a round of applause for everybody who helped make tonight possible. And with that, turn to you.
Good evening. Over the last 3 months, we've come face to face with overwhelming hardship and historic loss in these storied mountains. Some of what was lost will not come back. Some will return, but only after many of us are gone. And still, so much else cannot be washed away or forgotten, so long as there are people in these mountains to remember. So here we are on a December night, 1 week away from Christmas Day. However you've experienced these first few weeks of Advent, tonight, we invite you to gently open our hearts a little more to slowly hear the music that has shaped the very soul of these mountains and those who have called them home. This music still rings of hope, not despair. It echoes with the light of Christ that shines in the darkness, light that still is with us today. This is our folk Advent service. It's a concert of traditional Appalachian music set to the Advent season. Advent is a season of waiting, of preparation, of expectancy. And so we hope that you find it joyful and hopeful and perhaps familiar, even if you've never heard it before. There'll be a time for listening and singing, and through it all, an invitation to worship God together. Englishman John Francis Wade, circa 1711 to 1786, was a Roman Catholic music scribe who wrote the words and the music to the Christmas classic, O Come All Ye Faithful, which originally appeared with a Latin text. The hymn was printed widely in U.S. songbooks and collections beginning in the early 19th century, although its true authorship remained a mystery until the late 20th century. Many early printings published it simply as a Portuguese hymn, a name that evidently emerged as a result of the hymn's performance at the chapel of the Portuguese embassy in London in the 1780s.
Stay with us and turn to 103. We will sing this hymn together.
versions of the carol you just heard. Credit Adler M. Pace and R. Fisher Boyce with his composition. Boyce was a farmer and a deacon at Mount Carmel Baptist Church near Murfreesboro, Tennessee, who reportedly penned the song in a dairy barn in the 1930s. Pace was the music editor for James D. Vaughn, the gospel songbook company that first published the song. It's likely that Boyce submitted a version of the song to the Vaughn Company for consideration, with Pace then arranging it for 4 parts and preparing it for publication. Hence, the Vaughn Company credited the song to both men. Kentuckian John Jacob Niles was a collector and a popularizer of Appalachian folk music in the early to mid-20th century. He was also an accomplished composer. I Wonder as I Wander became one of Niles' best-known works, reportedly inspired by a folk song fragment he collected from a young singer in Murphy, North Carolina. He retold this story many times over the years, including a lengthy account in his unpublished autobiography. I heard singing coming from the other side of the town square. On investigating, I discovered a revivalist group about to start a street preaching. But in spite of the singing on and on, there's no preaching. It proved that the police, the county sheriff, and the local lawman had taken the matter in their own hands and given the revivalist and his group until sundown to get the hell out of town or else. The law had also confiscated a huge pile of canned goods. Because of the Depression, the local population, having no actual cash money, had contributed to the cause by bringing cans of victuals, or sometimes potted meat, and dropped them in the collection bucket. But the sheriff and the local lawman had discovered that Preacher Morgan was a low dog and simple thief and was not to be trusted any longer, nor allowed to prey on the simple-minded folks with his noisy and hellfire and damnation kind of preaching. The sheriff had said that the Morgans could sing and preach one more afternoon service and collect what funds they could. Morgan had declared that they were utterly penniless without that pile of canned goods. Thereupon, they begun to whoop it up by way of banjo and voice, preparatory to the preaching and the pleading for cash donations. They'd opened their meeting with a blousy female person who said she was the wife of the great divine Preacher Morgan. She sang lustily, "Let the church roll on, my Lord. Let the church roll on." But no one was ready to help grease the wheels of the carriage on which that church rolled. And it took quite a lot of gasoline to motivate their broken down Ford, the tailgate which served as the pulpit. East is an anonymous Southern folk tune, first published by William Walker in Southern Harmony in 1835. Walker was a Baptist song leader from Spartanburg, South Carolina, and is considered to be the foremost promoter of shape note singing in the South. The text associated with the tune is Brightest and Best, a Christian hymn written in 1811 by the Anglican bishop Reginald Heber, to be sung at the Feast of Epiphany. The Kentucky traditional singer Jean Ritchie often sang this and told of her childhood memory of her grandmother sitting by the fire and singing it quietly to herself on Twelfth Night. Brightest and best of the sons of the morning, dawn on our darkness and lend us thine aid. Star in the east, the horizon adorning, guide where our infant Redeemer is laid. Thanks to our lovely choir ensemble and our dulcimer ensemble earlier. The origins of the Black spiritual, Children Go Where I Send Thee, are obscure. Its roots may intersect with an old world English folk song called the 12 Apostles, versions of which were collected in southern Appalachia in the early 20th century. In 1934, father and son folklorists John and Alan Lomax collected the first audio recording for the Library of Congress at Bellwood Quarry in Atlanta, Georgia, sung by an unidentified group of Black incarcerated laborers. Within a few years, multiple commercial recordings by Black artists also appeared, including one by the very famous Golden Gate Quartet. After that point, the song's popularity spread and more contemporary recordings followed by a variety of performers.
This one you get to sing along. You'll catch on very quickly. There's, at the very beginning, this half sings with me, that half sings with them. And at the end of each verse, we all sing together again. In the middle will be solos, so don't sing with them. And we'll just get our microphones set up.
of Harvard University collected and assigned numbers to over 300 Scottish and English ballads, publishing them and their many variants in several volumes during the latter half of the 19th century. Ballads are narrative songs that tell stories. The Cherry Tree Carol is a rare ballad, which is also a Christmas carol. The story is about the Holy Family, Jesus, Mary, and Joseph, but it's not biblical. It is loosely based on a story in the Gospel of Pseudo-Matthew from the New Testament Apocrypha, a collection of writings by early Christians that were omitted from the modern canon of biblical texts established during the Middle Ages. Early versions of this ballad date to the 15th century in England, but it survived in various forms, including among settlers in southern Appalachia.
When Joseph was an old man was he. It was there he courted Mary in the land of Galilee. It was there he courted Mary in the land of Galilee. Oh, Joseph and Mary walked through an orchard green. There were cherries, there were berries, as thick as might be seen. There were cherries, there were berries, as thick as might be seen. One day Joseph and Mary through an orchard green, there were cherry trees abounding, as thick as might be seen. There were cherry trees abounding, oh, as thick as might be seen. Then Mary asked of Joseph, so meek and so mild, Joseph, gather me some cherries, for I am with child. Joseph, gather me some cherries, for I am with child. Then up spoke Jesus within Mary's womb. Bow down low to cherry tree, so my mother might have some. Bow down the cherry tree, so my mother might have some. Thus bow down the cherry tree unto my Mary's hand. She cried, Joseph, see now, Joseph, I have cherries at command.
to our lovely vocalist. Now, back to Preacher Morgan and his entourage. I sauntered over to get a closer look. A girl had stepped out to the edge of the little platform attached to the automobile. She began to sing. Now, her clothes were unbelievably dirty and ragged, and she too was unwashed. Her ash blonde hair hung down in long skeins, uncombed. And as I come closer and stood behind the fantail, I discovered that her young hands were lovely, save for the unkempt and broken fingernails. If she had been made up by Hollywood experts, she could not have looked her part more effectively. But best of all, she was positively beautiful. And in her untutored way, she could sing. She smiled as she sang, smiled rather sadly, and sang only a single line of song. The burden of her song had to do with wandering and wondering and the reasons for Christ's birth and death. I wonder as I wander out under the sky. And then she stopped. Although I had thrown a silver quarter at her feet, which Preacher Morgan picked up, I thought rather greedily, that quarter would have purchased enough low-grade gasoline to carry the entire Morgan clan out of Cherokee County and into the state of Georgia. That was exactly what those lawmen wanted so dearly. Preacher Morgan, he hissed a few words into the frightened girl's ear. He seemed to be saying, "Sing it again. This fella's ready and willing to pay for it." I was truly willing. It may have been my clairvoyance. It may have been my stubborn nature. But whatever it was, I see by my dim records that I went paying on for that single sentence of words and music for 8 times. Once it seemed to me she added the words, "How Jesus, our Savior."
I wondered as I wandered out under the sun, how Jesus the Savior did come for to die, for poor lonely people like you and like I. I wondered as I wandered out under the sun.
Park, a popular songbook published in 1844, taught people how to read music by using a system of notation featuring different shapes: triangles, ovals, rectangles, and diamonds as note heads on a musical staff, hence shape note singing. Okay. I was just waiting. This is participatory singing meant as a communal activity rather than performance for an audience. Although it is sacred music based on Protestant hymns, it differs from conventional church music in several ways. It's usually not performed in a church, but in gatherings called singings, where the four voice parts, tenor, alto, treble, bass, are arranged in a square, with each part facing the leader in the center. There's no instrumental accompaniment. The musical style has roots in rural England and New England, and it spread throughout the United States before the Civil War. While shape note singing gradually disappeared from northern and urban areas during the 19th century, it remained popular in the rural South, including southern Appalachia. The title Sherburne is the name of the tune based on a place name. It uses the popular Christmas text, "While shepherds watch their flocks by night," which has been set by numerous composers. In 2015, David Boyce, the grandson of R. Fisher Boyce, wrote to a radio host with a personal anecdote about Beautiful Star of Bethlehem, which has become a popular Christmas gospel standard. Oddly enough, Daddy Boyce said Papa never intended for that song to be known as a Christmas song. He just wanted to write a song praising his Lord. The story I was often told is that Pace would only publish the song if he received partial credit for it. I guess that's how he got credit for writing over 1,000 songs. Papa didn't really care about the credit. He just wanted to share the song rest of the world. I've heard two stories. One is that he received $25 for the rights, and the other is that he received $30. Now, by today's standards, that's not much. But during the Great Depression, when roughly 20% of the people were unemployed and others making just $1 a day, it must have seemed like a real blessing. I was a little boy when he passed away. I remember seeing a large box of manuscripts of songs and poems he wrote. Oh, how I wish I could look through that box today, see what else he might have written.
You'll find the words for this on the back of your program. I've been assured that you know this without the music, so sing out nice and loud. Star of Bethlehem.
Star
Kerbergs, and thank you so much for joining us this evening. Have a Merry Mountain Christmas.